Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all having a great day and that you're all doing well. Some pretty ridiculous news out there today, and without further ado, let's jump right into it. A new token backed 1-to-1 with Bitcoin is now live on the Ethereum blockchain, known as Wrapped BTC or WBTC, officially launched its ERC20 token on Wednesday evening. The project was first unveiled last October as a joint initiative between decentralized exchange startups known as Geber Network and Republic Protocol, as well as cryptocurrency custody company known as BitGo. As stated on the project's website, the aim of WBTC is to bring greater liquidity to the Ethereum ecosystem, including decentralized exchanges and financial applications. At the time, BitGo CTO Benedict Chan described WBTC as possessing both the stability of Bitcoin and the flexibility of Ethereum, likening the new crypto asset to traditional banknotes that were once redeemable for gold. While volatile compared to the US dollar, Bitcoin is the most liquid and stable of cryptocurrencies, he noted. Now listed on cryptocurrency market data site known as CoinMarketCap. As early as Wednesday evening, there was a reported 72 WBTC on the Ethereum network, slightly over collateralized with 72.4216 BTC, roughly around $250,000 locked in custody on the Bitcoin blockchain, leveraging a technology known as atomic swaps to facilitate cross-chain cryptocurrency trades. Users on Ethereum can request wrapped BTC from certified merchants after undergoing necessary anti-money laundering and know your customer or AML/KYC identification procedures, playing a key role in the exchange and liquidation of the new wrapped Bitcoin tokens. Merchants are defined in the technology's white paper as the institution or party to which wrapped tokens will be minted to and burnt from. If I'm not mistaken, we spoke about wrapped Bitcoin in last October, maybe somewhere around that time. It was definitely autumn where we were talking about it, and since then I have not heard a thing except for a couple of hints of, I want to say, scrutiny. And it comes down to the fact that a lot of people who are believers in Bitcoin or who develop on Bitcoin simply noted before, what's the point of a stable coin that is backed by Bitcoin and therefore one would assume officially has Bitcoin's price, instead of just using Bitcoin if you're looking for the stability of Bitcoin? The fact that they have in some sort of way created another Bitcoin, which is an issue, even though the word wrapped is in front of it, the word Bitcoin still remains there. And yeah, it's kind of weird. Maybe it's just me. I'm a little over the idea of having so many stable coins and the idea of having a stable coin based on another cryptocurrency as opposed to a fiat currency, or rather just using Bitcoin on your actual platform. Kind of a little weird. We'll see exactly how wrapped BTC goes. I'm assuming that along the way we will definitely receive more news about this. However, it is a little weird that they have created a secondary Bitcoin, and in order to use it, you have to go through anti-money laundering and or know your customer certification processes, as opposed to just using Bitcoin yourself and then you don't have to deal with any of that at all. Kind of weird, but everyone does what they will do. And without further ado, let us move on. Ripple is once again in the news. After nearly 5 months without a general counsel, Ripple Labs has hired a new top lawyer. The San Francisco-based cryptocurrency company announced Stuart Alderodi as the new general counsel on Wednesday. Alderodi will oversee all things legal, managing the company's global legal policy and Bank Secrecy Act compliance terms. Ripple began rapidly growing its legal team last year. Alderodi will report to the chief executive officer, which is Brad Garlinghouse. Blockchain technology is transforming the financial services industry, and Ripple has been at the forefront for both its technology and thoughtful approach to policy, said by Alderodi in a press release. He was not immediately available for comment. He said, "I am thrilled to join Ripple and work alongside this great team Brad has assembled. as well as find new ways to partner with leading policymakers and continue to create significant solutions for Ripple's users and end customers throughout the world. While they may try and spice it up, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he is a former HSBC member. I think that's where he's from before. The Ripple team is very strategic, and the people who they logically, you don't just kind of have anybody off the street be a part of your team. But what they're doing right now, and I think it's very interesting, is that they're setting themselves up because you may have noticed last year, for some reason, it was like open range season, and everyone thought that they could kind of just sue everybody else. Every single cryptocurrency company had something against them. I think Ripple may have had like 3 or 4 different lawsuits going against them, with people claiming that they had lost around $50, $150, and therefore XRP must be a security because I lost money on it, which, if you know how any investment works, that's not how it logically makes sense. Anyway, the point is they are beefing up their lawyer, their security, like every single thing that you could possibly think of. They're doing it in a very strategic way, and the people who they're bringing on aren't very small names either. These are huge names in the space, and this is why they have people from the SEC also on their team. They're making sure that no matter where they go, no matter what they do, they are constantly legally compliant, and this is why I noted before, I think what they're doing is incredibly intelligent. We have a lot of other cryptocurrency projects that are not doing this, that don't care, that believe that based on the idea in their own head that they are so decentralized that they are no longer a security. That's not how it works in the U.S. We know that the U.S. is kind of the monetary policy maker for the rest of the planet. So I do, and I mean really tip my hat to them, because we're going to enter a situation. It's believed that sometime this year, no one knows exactly if this is going to happen and within that time frame, that the SEC and the CFTC are finally going to start to come forward and name what is what, who is who, how this works, and what jurisdiction X, Y, and Z falls under. And the only one who has really protected themselves in this cocoon is the Ripple team. Bitcoin doesn't have to because it's Bitcoin. Ethereum, I guess to a lesser extent, I'm pretty sure that they have lawyers that we're maybe just not hearing about. But a lot of other coins are going to be in for a very interesting shock, because I'm pretty sure the SEC is writing them letters, or they have already been informed. And yeah, let's move on. Next up, the NEM Foundation, a community-funded nonprofit established to promote the NEM blockchain, is planning layoffs across its entire 150-person staff in the wake of severe budget cuts and ahead of an imminent restructuring, CoinDesk has learned. The newly elected president of the NEM Foundation, his name is Alex Tinsman, told CoinDesk on Wednesday the Singapore-based NEM Foundation now intends to submit a funding request to the NEM Community Fund for 160 million tokens, around 7.5 million US dollars, money that would be used to rescue the organization from the verge of bankruptcy. NEM tokens are listed under the XEM ticker, with a circulating supply of 9 billion, according to CoinMarketCap at press time. XEM, or XEM, is the world's 18th largest cryptocurrency by market cap. He said, basically, we realized we had a month to operate due to the mismanagement of previous governance council. Tinsman, who took over the nonprofit in January, said in an interview, as a result, the foundation's 202 members, people who undergo identity checks and pay an annual $50 membership fee, will be asked to vote on the funding request in February after it's published on Thursday. The number of layoffs will be determined by how much funding the community approves. And then they talk about when it launched, 2015, what have you, so and so and so. Please pay attention to where you have your money. Please pay attention to the cryptocurrencies that are constantly in the news. Please pay attention to the cryptocurrencies that are going to be adopted, that have the legal framework around them, that have been, how do I say this nicely? That we're pretty clear are going to be integrated into the current financial system that we have. There are certain coins, you know exactly which ones that I'm talking about. I've spoken about them before. I will not name any specifics, but there are many cryptocurrencies right now floating around that have heavy mismanagement of funds, that are losing money, are having constant layoffs, have stopped their project, have not updated their GitHub. You no longer hear from their team, and this is going to continue happening. Even the only saving grace, and this is the really weird part, that will be for these a lot of these companies, is if we have a bull run, within the next 3 to 4 months. If we do not, you're going to hear a lot more news like this. There's also mutterings behind the scenes, I'm pretty sure a lot of you remember as well, that the Bitcoin Cash team is also not doing that well, as the Bitmain team ceased their entire Bitcoin Cash operations. And the rumor has it, as Bitmain is apparently also not doing that well financially, monetarily, and it appears that they have over 1 million Bitcoin Cash. They are probably going to sell off this Bitcoin Cash in order to be able to pay their creditors, because they potentially owe them a large chunk of money. So please, as always, pay attention to where you have your money. I know it may seem nice, and the idea of having your money in another cryptocurrency that is, it's relatively cheap, and the price is so low, and this seems so cool, and it seems so awesome. If you do not hear, and like I've said before in other videos, I get my information from at least anywhere from 12 to 15 different cryptocurrency websites. Pay attention to the coins that are being spoken about. And negative news sometimes has a stronger impact than other people would like to believe. It may be time for a lot of people to reassess your position in certain coins, because, like I said, if we have a bull run, during a bull run, every coin seems great. Every single coin is a winner. But when the bear market has gone on for 13 months, and you still hear about the same couple of coins over and over that are being integrated, that are doing stuff, that are changing their platforms, that aren't complaining about having to do layoffs, these are going to be the winners. And without further ado, let's move on. Next up, Ethereum is once again in the news. Cryptocurrency gamblers have left Ethereum-based decentralized applications, or dApps, in mass. They've converted almost entirely to gambling on competing networks, taking their transactional volume with them. That's a really creepy photo right there. I didn't even realize that. Blockchain Research Unit DR studied 3 blockchains that support dApps. They are Ethereum, EOS, and Tron, to determine just how much US dollar value is processed on each networked, and by what kind of dApp. It discovered that dApps deployed on EOS and Tron are now responsible for 94% of all US dollar value transactions across the 3 protocols. Think of that. Ethereum, EOS, and Tron, these 2 have 94% of the transactions happening between them 2 alone. Here's the actual graph that we have right here, with Ethereum in black. Surprisingly, 55% of the traffic is coming from EOS, and 36% is flowing through dApps deployed on Justin Sun's Tron network. Most of it is the result of gambling, like we said before. Since its rocky inception last year, the EOS network has processed more than $5.5 billion worth of cryptocurrency, with 70% now attributed to the gambling-specific dApps. Tron traffic is made up of a similarly startling amount of online casinos. DR noted that more than 95% of Tron's traffic is gambling related. By comparisons, Ethereum's gambling dApps now account for a relatively tiny 2% of the network's US dollar transaction volume. This is despite nearly half of the Ethereum dApps being betting related. This is something that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago. Something similar to this. It wasn't this exact thing, but the amount of betting, gambling dApps that are on these platforms, I don't know what it is. Maybe whoever's creating these things have realized the golden ticket. I knew that gambling was a very big thing, but I didn't think it was that massive. I think the other podcast also ended, and I don't know why. The podcast called ICO Alert, I haven't been able to find them for about 2 or 3 weeks. But they used to even have like a segment where they would talk about like the EOS and Tron dApps and stuff like that, and they were almost all entirely betting. That's not to say that that's not good. It's just kind of weird that all of them are specifically about gambling. But I mean, whatever you have to do to kind of get your network moving. Anyway, the point is, Ethereum, and I mentioned this before, is one of my favorite coins. It keeps slipping. 2019 is going to be a very eventful year for Ethereum. If they don't get it together relatively soon, a lot of other projects have already announced that they were moving from Ethereum over to EOS. A lot of the new gaming platforms are moving, starting out exclusively on Tron. It's kind of one of the very few reasons why I even have like a drop of hope for Tron, is because as of right now, like I said before, It comes down to showing like actual usage, and if your platform has not collapsed. Tron apparently works. It is a very quick platform for people to be able to have their things on top of it. I'm still waiting for this. The most proving step will be when we actually have a massive bull run, and if these networks that includes EOS as well, if they can all handle the traffic. But as of right now, this is a bit probably telling of exactly what's going to continue happening in the cryptocurrency space. I hope that Ethereum has not had its day and it's simply gone right now, but it's a little weird that everyone is moving over to these platforms, and that's not even there are a couple of other smart contract ICO DApp platforms as well, and I can only imagine that they're also probably taking a bit of the steam away from Ethereum. Anyway, the point is interesting to. This is why I always say I think crypto is so interesting, because no matter where you are in the industry, there's a kind of a place for everybody. There are people who like look at the transaction volume on these cryptocurrency platforms, and they figure out exactly how much of that volume is actually going to video games. Kind of interesting, and I like to see these numbers as well. But yeah, let's move on. Next up, cryptocurrency exchanges that wish to better themselves and improve their technology are seeking partnerships with NASDAQ. NASDAQ is already in possession of an advanced proprietary surveillance technology that scans transactions and seeks out fraudulent patterns. I'll try and get back to that in 1 second. To collaborate with any crypto exchange, NASDAQ has first prepared a test that the exchanges need to pass, with their ability to cover the cost being a secondary issue. Only 7 cryptocurrency exchanges were able to pass the test as of yet, with only 2 of them, SBI Virtual Currencies and Gemini, were publicized. Others seek out this technology to attract new clients, such as institutional and high-profile investors, because logically, if you can say that you are a partner with NASDAQ, especially as we end up going forward, that is going to be very good for any brand who's trying to make their way into the cryptocurrency space, because I still believe, and I know that this is going to happen, and this is probably why only 7 were able to pass. I can only assume that there were at least 50 around the world who have been desperately trying to get into this, kind of have the name of NASDAQ on their back, because when NASDAQ launches, it's going to be a monster. It's going to take over everything, all the other little cryptocurrency exchanges that other people use, and this is why I focus mainly on Binance, or I tell other people to use like very high name cryptocurrency exchanges, because the other ones are going to be completely wiped out. The same exact thing that we're seeing with other cryptocurrency projects where they're disappearing and losing funding. The smaller exchanges who deal in like $5 million in transactions per day, they're going to be crushed immediately. So having the name NASDAQ with you is going to be a very good way to say, hey, yeah, we are so-and-so exchange and we are partnered with NASDAQ. That's going to ring a couple of bells in their head. Keeping in mind that the only 2 publicized ones right now are Gemini, and we know why. Gemini makes sure that they kiss everybody's foot as they walk in through the door. And SBI Virtual Currency, SBI is one of the largest banks in Japan, so they probably already know NASDAQ, and they probably were able to be like, hey, you know who we are, here's our paperwork, yada, yada, yada. On top of this as well, so scams and anything fraudulent are a very big thing right now in the cryptocurrency space. A lot of people who may just be, I want to say normal investors, maybe don't see it or understand it. As far as we had a lot of problems in 2017 and 18 where we figured out that a lot of the transactions that were happening on the cryptocurrency blockchains were completely false. We see on cryptocurrency exchanges people putting in sell orders for $10 million because they actually have this on their account, but they may say, I want to sell my Bitcoin at a certain amount, but all people see is that there's a $5 million sell order. People start to sell, and the moment the price goes down, the sell order disappears. So when you talk about a system that is going to be hyper regulated, it's cryptocurrency exchanges are going to be nothing like we've ever seen before in our entire lives. And this is why there's such a push on the side for decentralized exchanges, which will still capture maybe 1% of all the actual transactions happening around the world, but the bulk of them will be happening through the New York Stock Exchange, through the NASDAQ, through the Swiss Exchange, German, etc., because a lot of this is the scams that are happening right now are a bit too good, and they are we know that there's market manipulation happening right now. There's we've seen at least 45 articles over the course of 2018 and like the last couple of days in this month where people have been talking about it. We know that it's a thing, and I'm pretty sure that the NASDAQ and every other main place knows exactly that these same exact things are happening. And you cannot tell people, especially institutional investors, who are potentially going to be trading hundreds of millions of dollars like individuals back and forth over the course of 365 days, that you do not have the proper technology to be able to surveil to see if things are actually going properly, if their money is actually safe, and what have you. So this is going to be very big as we go forward. I say this once again, I'm sure at least 65-70% of the people listening out there have got it. Before the other 35 to 30%, pay attention to the coins that you have your money in, and pay attention to where you have your cryptocurrencies. We're going to see a mass exodus very, very quick. And I noted this before in 2017. For those who may be relatively new, we're going to have a collapse of the market that's going to happen backwards. The coins that no one's using, coins that you see go up by, 338%, and you ask yourself, why is it going up by that amount? And you see that they have $3,000 in transaction volume for the day. These coins are going to disappear, and all that money that's going to be pulled out of the market is going to be pushed directly into these coins, whichever one I said before, whichever one the NASDAQ ends up offering. And those are going to be the coins that are going to dominate the cryptocurrency space. Tony Seo, the head of exchange and regulator surveillance team at NASDAQ, provided better insight into questions that the exchanges have to answer to pass the test. Seo also pointed out that there is a new practice at NASDAQ, as their usual clients were already always well known. However, the inclusion of lesser known entities requires a stricter vetting process. Seo revealed that the test NASDAQ has prepared revolves around providing satisfying answers to questions regarding the exchange's business practices, more specifically, know your customer and anti-money laundering, business model and exchange governance and controls. I wonder if Coinbase was one of the places that tried to get in. Will be kind of no. I'm pretty sure they would be able to make it. They probably just aren't publicized as of yet. I think it would be kind of weird if Coinbase actually didn't make it into the round. I wonder who the other 5 are. Who the other big names are going to be able to post on their website, that little insignia that we are partnered with the NASDAQ. This is all happening in sequence. It is all and I mentioned before, and you've seen it in other videos as well, I think everything is gonna, nicest way of saying it, kind of hit the fan in March. This is kind of where all signs are pointing. This is where everyone is, I think, going to launch their stuff. We thought we were going to have news by the end of February for the Bitcoin ETF, which would have then led us into another March situation. But as of right now, it seems that everyone is heading for that March timeframe. But yeah, let's move on. Next up, here's a pretty interesting one. Danish state-owned energy company known as EnergyNet has expanded its partnership with the distributed ledger network IOTA to investigate use of its technology in new areas, IOTA revealed in a blog post yesterday. EnergyNet, which is an independent enterprise under Denmark's Climate and Energy Ministry, wants to examine how it could leverage IOTA's Tangle technology in the energy and Internet of Things markets. The two entities have worked together on a data marketplace initiative since late 2017, a larger project involving other companies. EnergyNet market developer Andre Byerdy Alnor commented on the latest move and said, as part of our journey to a digitized green energy system, we know that we have to bridge the gap between the fast development in IoT technology being implemented on both household and industrial level and the centralized systems of the European energy system. IOTA's product offering is specifically geared to the Internet of Things, and EnergyNet looks to create new solutions based on Internet of Things for emerging phenomena such as green energy and electronic vehicles. Once again, I mentioned before, this is now the 9th or 10th time. It is spectacular that IOTA has an enormous amount of partnerships, and they essentially have partnered with the Danish state-owned energy company, which is kind of amazing. But every single time that we get information about IOTA, it is constantly that someone is using their Tangle, i.e. their blockchain, and not their actual token themselves. A lot of people, once again, have told me that I am completely incorrect. I have no idea what I'm talking about, and that these companies are simply not announcing that they're going to be using the token because it is a secret. very odd secret that you would have 9 to 10 different companies right now, especially BMW and others who have announced that they're all going to be using the Tangle in some capacity, but they are not going to be using the token. We shall see sometime in the future if I assume the testing goes completely well, that they may announce that they are going to be using the IOTA token. If we get information from the Danish state-owned energy company and Volkswagen and BMW and Bosch and what's the other maker of the fridges and the escalators, that they're going to allow the use of the IOTA token, IOTA's token is going to skyrocket. But as of now, it is constantly just news that they are going to be using their system and not their actual token. However, does not diminish that this news is actually very cool. The IOTA team has constantly made sure, and they're focusing on Europe as well, which I think is actually kind of interesting. Kind of cool that they have found ways to partner with governments and major companies, while other people have kind of shied away from these companies altogether. To kind of finish things off, Mr. Bitcoin decided to swoop down in price. The rest of the market is now in red simply because that's how Bitcoin goes. We are very close to the $3,500 area where we were before. I think we were at $3,560 yesterday, and that was supposed to be a level of resistance. Clearly, it did not resist very well. The market's not doing too bad as far as I can see. Every coin, you know, some of them go down more than others depending on, this is the NEM situation right now. It appears bleak. That's not to say that they won't be able to get the funding. But in a situation like that where you announce that there was a mismanagement of funds and you're not doing too well, it's not a coin that I hold. It's not a coin that I ever planned on holding. But alrighty, I think that's definitely going to do it for this video. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are. Wherever in this crazy world you might be, I hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and listening. I do appreciate all of your support, more than you could possibly begin to imagine. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. They are Gunbot University, GBU, Professor Wally, Arthur Yaku, L. Doug, Brady Niels, Rai, Gil, Boa Snake, and Vlad the Impaler. You are all incredibly generous, and I do thank you from the bottom of my heart. Hope you all enjoyed. And yeah, I'll talk to you all soon. See you.